Hello, everyone. So we've seen a case in Cork, and there's another case here. But up and down the country, the Latin part of the country, we see elderly people, Irish people, being abused by the government. Let's put it straight: it's being abused by the government. They've worked all their lives. A lot of these people are elderly in their 80s, some of them, in their 90s. And we see this woman in Cork, tips up, she's 88, nearly 90 years old, and she's going to go on the street. What I mean by that is, the Irish government don't care to do anything to give her a house or to look after her. And this woman pretty much ran up on the street because in her area in Cork, there's no emergency accommodation. There's no where to put her pretty much to keep her house. So pretty much she's going to end up on the street, and that's the tax Irish people get. Your elderly people who worked all their life, and then there's people coming in here, and this is what wages me the most. There's people literally spending €1 million a day alone on modular home security for Ukrainians. But there's no such thing as looking after Irish people. And again, this is the fact, and this is plain and simple. If this was a Ukrainian woman, or if this was a person from Nigeria or anything that was 88 and going to be homeless, the media would go AWOL. Like, we wouldn't have a minute's peace with the media. But again, there's not a peep from the media in idiot. They should be literally outside Let's the House demanding answers from the Taoiseach, saying how dare they kick out an 88-year-old woman and leave her on the street, and the Irish state is doing nothing to help her. If the media were any good, they would be. The TDs would be terrified to leave Dáil Éireann to have to be asked questions. But yeah, this is another example in Cavan. So there's been a service in Cavan for the last 14 years, and it was a boarding out scheme. It was kind of like a scheme, but it's different. I'm trying to explain it now for people who don't know. But there used to be a good few of them. There used to be 15 or 16 kind of schemes. So they were kind of closed environments. What I mean by that, a few people, elderly people. But it wasn't like a nursing home, but these people could care for themselves but still couldn't live on their own. So take for example the last one, there used to be 15, the last one is going to close next month. And the problem is the government give them fuck all. And excuse my language, but it has to be said because Pauline Tuddy, the senator, in fairness, weighs in the Shannon. But in fairness, the word should be used that they're giving them fuck all. Excuse my language, but it is the simple thing. This all political talk of, oh, we need more funding and stuff. Give them the fucking money. Simple as that. Don't fucking dilly-dally around. And that's what I would say to the senators. Remember, where is Niamh Smith? She's our local minister. Where is she? Is she hiding? Where the fuck is Niamh Smith? Excuse my language. But where is she? Like, these 6 elderly people will not have a home next month. Where is Niamh Smith? She's the minister. She jumped up and down about RT during the election, and she's nowhere to be found now to help out these 6 elderly people. She's a minister now. Do something about it. You're wet begging for votes around the whole place, but do something. These six elderly people be left in the cold. Now, to be totally honest, there's nothing to be done. But we have to say it straight, because there's too much bullshit around this place. Excuse my language. But it is the truth. Because this is becoming a joke. There's too many elderly people I know that are waiting for operations and stuff. And then fucking people from Timbuktu can come in here and get everything handed to them. It doesn't make any sense. And call it racist, call it far away, call it whatever you want. But if you don't like it, it's simple enough the truth. Simple as that, it's the truth. And you might as well say it. Because there was loads of services like this a few years ago. And they're good services. Because again, 6 people, they live kind of together. It's not like a nursing home. It's cheaper than one in the nursing home too. But see, there's no profit in it for the government. There's no money for the government in it. And they don't give a shit. At the end of the day, they don't care less. But that's the thing. There's no profit for them. There's no money being made back. Because this is only a small time schemes. As I say, the 6 people in Harvard, in County Cavan, it was smaller kind of things. But it was people that, couldn't live on their own for whatever reason, but had a small community around them with a few people employed to look after them, and they're going to get rid of that. But it is a disgrace. Like, there's no other word to say. Like, this country alone is a disgrace, because up and down the whole left and right of the country we see elderly people being abused, and the word is abuse from not even from anybody but from their own government, the government that they paid all their life. A lot of these people, whatever about my generation or the generation before, people in their 80s, in their 70s, people like my father who grew up in the 50s, there was no such thing as free social life. There was no such thing as this. There was no such thing. They had to go out and walk, and they had to work long hours. There was no Model Cullen. There was no. Things were very, very tough, and these people had to work every day of their life just to put food on the table. And these people built this country. Like, we can debate all we want about big internationals, multinationals coming in and giving huge money to the state. But at the end of the day, the man who went out to work in the factory, the man who went to clean the streets and stuff years ago, they contributed to the country. They built this country. And the tax they get now is literally nothing. But it is shocking. Because literally people can come in from Timbuktu and get things handed to them. It doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. When you really sit down and think about it, it doesn't make any sense. Because, as I say, modular home security alone, just for the security, across the country is €1 million. Would that not €1 million not go good to helping elderly people? Not even that. The modular homes themselves, they moved heaven and earth to build these modular homes. The same in Cavan, they moved heaven and earth to build these modular homes. There was no such thing as we're going to build them. There would be perfect ideas, many people said, for people who have disabilities, say for example, they're in a wheelchair or they have a walking aid. It'd be perfect home for a few elderly people. Irish people, of course. But there's no such thing as we're going to build a few for elderly people. There's not a word about that in Cavan or anywhere. There's not a whisper even about it. You think they would say, yes, we're going to build them for elderly people so it would be handier for them instead of a house or whatever. But it doesn't make any sense. It really, really doesn't. But you can call it far right, you can call it racist, you can call it whatever. But at the end of the day, it is the truth. And nobody can deny that. Because as I said, we go back even 10 years ago. There was more of these, there was 15 of them, 16 I think. Even probably more across all Cavan, maybe if you take in a few often, etc. But around that, there's only one left and that's going to close next month. And they don't seem... again, it's not the fact there's no money. It'd be different if the state was bankrupt. There was no money for it. There's money, but again, the government don't care to spend it because the majority of these people are elderly Irish people. And they just simply couldn't give a shit. And it has to be said straight. And there's no money for them in it, so why do they care? But it just goes to show you the arrogance of this government. The care. Years ago, we were told to respect our elders. Nowadays, that's all gone out the window. But yeah, the war... I hope in Dáil Éireann, when they get old, that they'd be left in a house and left to what they're to be told that the TD is sitting in Dáil Éireann. Because they won't, you know yourself, they have a huge amount of money, they have a huge pension. They don't have to worry about it. But a lot of these people were on the basic pension, on a basic state pension, that worked all their life, hundreds and thousands, God only knows how many years. And they're getting fuck all. They may be getting $250 a week if they're lucky. And a TD gets maybe a 2 or 3, 4,000 a week in a pension. 4,000 maybe, 3,000 in a pension. And fucking done that. Excuse my language, but you really would lose your plot over it. Because it isn't fair. And that's the simple fact of the matter. It isn't fair on a person that worked all their life and to be left there. Like quite literally left. By their own government nonetheless. By their own government, by people that literally we don't even know. Get everything handed to them. It doesn't make sense. Like, try and logically sit down. Because I looked at it everywhere. There's no logic in it. There's no logic at all. Why would somebody that worked all their life, paid their way all their life, get nothing? And then a person who have never contributed to the state gets things handed. Explain it, please. Try and explain it, because I don't know. But it shows you the lack of the care, the lack of humanity too, for our own people by this government.